Welcome back. Hope you're having a good morning. Well, we've listed down all the top stocks that you need to track for today. Prakash Diwan joins us to help us out with his view on a whole host of names. Hi, Prakash. Good morning. Hope you had a good weekend. Let's start by talking about the big one. HDFC Bank came out with its set of numbers, and it appears those challenges that they had post the merger, they seem to be receding now. And the management's trajectory as well is clearly laid out, with regard to reducing the credit deposit ratio and, the growth outlook from here on as well. Your view on the numbers for HDFC Bank?
Good morning, Nigel. Thank you. So I think very, very clearly, these numbers are probably indicative of a turning point in the, in the bank's business. There was this underlying assumption that most of the difficulties, especially related to the merger blues, were unassailable. But these numbers tell you that when they put in the right kind of effort in the right spots, things have started turning around. I mean, you mentioned about the credit deposit ratio, which is actually at a 5-quarter low of sorts, moved below the 100 mark. The other important thing, of course, is, the reason it has looked at this number positively is you have a very strong deposit growth, which most other banks are struggling with. And HDFC is focused on, getting into that deposit build up on the 25 trillion mark is absolutely very stunning in terms of, the response that they've got. There could be, you could keep on arguing about some, issues of credit growth and all of that. But I think that's a cyclical thing with the industry as a whole. So this will take time, and then they will outperform in terms of growth numbers as well when things happen, look up. But my sense is this is the turning point at this price. Nobody will have much of complaints in terms of, what they're doing with their metrics, which were an issue. So you'll probably see a very significant comeback of sorts, given where other banks are. I think the allocations to HDFC will improve dramatically in the next few days.
Got it. Prakash, hi, morning. On Friday, all these gas stocks sold off 10%, 12%, IGL, MGL mainly. And then, of course, Gujarat Gas was also lower. This morning, and we were asking this towards the end, is it a little overdone? I saw a note from Citi. I saw a few others asking, is the fall exaggerated, overdone? Are these buyable around here? What's your sense, Prakash?
Good morning, Prashant. So, I do agree. While the market always tends to, and the mood right now is such that if there is any bad news, there will be a little bit of a overreaction. There'll be a follow through. People will start believing that it's time to book profits from some of these things. But my personal view is that these stocks are to be seen from a slightly longer term perspective. Utilities are never a couple of quarters or a couple of years play. I mean, you have a runway which is so significant. And especially look at how MGL has transformed itself from just a very marginal player into a slightly bigger regional player and now a dominant regional player. So, if you look at the kind of investments that have gone into their businesses, and this tariff issue will always be very dynamic. Things will keep moving up and down. But you don't take away the fact that these companies are extremely valuable from a replacement cost perspective. And from that, any dip in these stocks for the long-term investors, particularly in the retail side, I think it makes a lot of sense. So MGL, of course, is one of my top picks. And as a matter of disclosure, I do have an exposure to this. But that's more from a long-term perspective and a dividend yield play at some point in time. But any dip would be a buying opportunity. I wouldn't be worried about the transient issues that have been highlighted by some of these reports.
No, got it. Let's talk about a few other names, Prakash. Zomato was sold off aggressively on Friday. The board meeting is tomorrow for fundraise, right? Again, it's not clear what the fundraise is for since they're sitting on a fair amount of cash. And the other one is Manappuram, which also got smashed. Again, the question is, what do you do with these two? Are they buys here? For Manappuram, of course, there's the tailwind of gold prices, which are continuing to break new records, which is a positive at the margin. Go on.
So, Prashant, let me take this Manappuram thing first because, their MFI subsidiary was just a namesake blessing. It hasn't turned out to be that way. And the important thing is that when you diversify or step out of your comfort zone or core competence circle, which in the case of Manappuram is a very clear example, and which a lot of other gold players have not chosen to do. I personally believe that this was an accident that was always in the making of such, given how MFIs, and I've been talking about MFIs being soft and things being difficult on the collection side. It's an issue which RBI has brought out, which we actually didn't anticipate, but which could take much longer in terms of impact. The underlying gold business could help Manappuram get back on its feet. So my sense is that if those numbers start looking up for at least some more time, you'll probably be able to get over this dent that's happened, the tailwind that you spoke about. So the headwinds are positive, but the tailwinds have to be negated yet. So it might take some time and could be painful for that period. So I really don't think that's going to be so easy in that sense.
Prakash, just looking at the pre-open rates, Tata Chemicals, that's up close to 10%. I think besides the numbers, I think, there is that hope that maybe Tata Sons IPO could come into play. So I guess that's one of the reasons why it's up. India Mart is up more than 9% to kickstart trade, while RBL Bank on the flip side is down 10% because those numbers look quite weak. But Prakash, I wanted to ask you about Dalmia Bharat. That's a stock that you track. 2,400 has become 1,750. Those numbers are weak, but the possibility of the second half being stronger is rather high. And valuation-wise as well, it's come down to that sweet spot of around $85, $90 per ton. Your take?
So, Nigel, I haven't been as positive on Dalmia for some time, and for obvious reasons, there was a very clear shift in terms of them. The tolling business that helped them all this while was not likely to continue, given how the client was, the end user was shaping up. and the important thing is that these numbers, they've managed to do some decent volume uptick, but I don't think it's come at a very healthy realization, which means that this pressure on realization will continue to drag things down. And while, of course, I do agree $90 per ton is a fairly decent level, but I think given the setup, the way the larger players are getting so big, I don't think Dalmia Bharat will end up proving to be very attractive, even if it's valued at this $90 per ton. So it will take a while for it to turn things around in that sense and make that, see that comeback happen in terms of realization and volume growth as a combination. I'll wait for that. I know the next quarter probably is better for everybody, but then there could be some better options to look at than Dalmia Bharat, which might still take some time to turn the corner.
All right, Prakash, you have got the timing on Dalmia Bharat right in the past, so we'll wait by to see what goes on with that company. For the time being, a 4% decline is what we're bracing for. Thanks a lot, Prakash, for joining in. Have a cracker of a Monday ahead.